Everyone has a story to tell. It's my mission to tell it. Unscripted, unedited, we are on the record. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarina. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of On the Record, where we hear from incredible people and their inspiring stories. Well, you might be wondering today why I'm in a red sequin dress. I think it's quite appropriate because our guest is joining us from Beverly Hills, Dan Harary. His name rhymes with Ferrari. Hi, Dan.
That's how I remember it, Sarina. And that's what I tell people because nobody ever gets it right. So anyway, you look wonderful. You're a very beautiful woman, by the way.
Oh my gosh, Dan, thank you so much for that. Wow. I mean, this show is unedited and unscripted, and I did not expect that compliment. Thank you so much.
Good.
I appreciate it.
If you didn't live so far away, I'd take you out for dinner tonight. So
oh my goodness, and I could show off the dress.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that in real life, of course.
You are too kind and so sweet, and we so appreciate you being on the show. And you're on the show for many reasons, but also your book, Flirting with Fame. Is it fair to say, though, that was a little flirtation just now as well?
Oh, sure, of course, of course. Well, Flirting with Fame is about all the celebrities I've worked with, met, interacted with, been smiled at, been winked at, been waved to in the last 50 years, Sarina, believe it or not. I'm 66. When I was 15, I started working with celebrities. I was in high school. I worked at a rock concert hall, and I had very long hair. I played the drums. You can probably see my electric drums here now.
We do.
So for 50 years, last year I was turning 65, and I realized it had been 50 years that I'd been working with, meeting, or interacting with celebrities. It's just the oddest thing. It's serendipity. It's karmic. None of my friends, this has happened to no one else that I know in the world.
Gosh.
And, I have like a celebrity magnet, apparently. I don't know why.
Apparently, and you use my favorite word, which is serendipity. I love that word. I use that word all the time. It's the best. So tell us, though, you said you were 15. How did it all begin? And is that when you first met Bruce Springsteen, when you were that age? Or how did it begin at 15? And you were living in New Jersey, weren't you?
Okay, sure. I grew up in Asbury Park, New Jersey, which Bruce made famous. Bruce Springsteen's first album was called Greetings from Asbury Park, and it was from 1973. Anyway, I grew up in Asbury Park. My mother was a singer. My father played trombone. They were both in a big band. So I grew up in a theatrical family, a musical theatrical family. When I was 7 to 10, I played classical piano. When I was 10, the Monkees, if you know who the Monkees are, the Monkees came on TV when I was 10. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh my God, I love rock and roll, and I have to play the drums. So I started playing the drums at the age of 10.
Wow.
And then I got my drums at the age of 12. And from 12 to 18, I was in rock bands. And during that era, I was asked to become the stage manager for a concert hall in Asbury Park, a little place called the Sunshine Inn. It's been defunct for a long time, but in the 70s, they presented the biggest rock bands in the world in the 70s. I was there from ages of 15 to 18. I was in high school. I had very long hair, played the drums. And I worked with Bruce Springsteen when I was 16. That was actually 1973. The week that his very first album came out, my best friend and I worked with Bruce. We did his lighting and his stage crew.
Wow.
And he was a nice guy. I was not into his music at that time. I was into Led Zeppelin and The Who and heavy metal bands. And Bruce was singing, Madman, Bummers, Drummers, and Indians in the Summer from Blinded by the Light. We had no idea what he was talking about. So my friends and I were not really into Bruce at the time, but we knew him. We saw him many times in bars, on the beach, in nightclubs for years and years. And I was very excited when he became famous. I thought that was very cool.
That's awesome. And so he is a nice guy, as you said. You said you really got to know him.
He was nice to me and my friends. But again, this is 1973. Now, I've heard since then, Sarina, I've had friends try to talk to him now and he just kind of glances and nods, and he turns and walks away. So I think he's changed.
Well,
From the
and
stories I've heard, he's changed.
well, you have probably seen that a lot since you work with a lot of celebrities and you have worked with a lot of celebrities. Sometimes do you feel, I mean, you can share some of the stories if you feel that fame might, get to somebody.
Well, I think the best example of that one is Jerry Seinfeld. In
Yes,
1980, yes.
share
All
that
right,
story.
so let me back up. I'll back up a little, and I'll get to the Jerry story. So I grew up in Asbury Park. I worked in high school at this concert hall. Then I went to Boston University to study communications. When I was there, Sarina, Howard Stern, the radio show host,
Mm-hmm.
he was at Boston University at the same time I was there. I didn't meet him then. I met him years later, but we were there at the same time. I graduated. I worked briefly in New York at Columbia Pictures in 1980. I worked with Brooke Shields when she had a movie called The Blue Lagoon. I knew her then.
She's gorgeous,
Um,
right? You would say that she is definitely gorgeous.
she is gorgeous. As 15, she was, kind of flat chested. I mean, she was, a young girl when I knew her. But she made a big splash. That movie, The Blue Lagoon, did very, very well. And I worked with her and her mother in that year. Then that fall, 1980, there you go. That's Brooke
Yeah,
at the far. This is many, many years later, that photo.
gosh,
That
she's just
photo
so pretty and
is
beautiful.
that photo is 19 years later. And when I met her 19 years later, I said, Brooke, you and I saw The Blue Lagoon with your mother. And she goes, oh my God, what a memory you have. She goes, that's amazing. And I go, Brooke, you're a memorable person. Of course I remember that. Fall 1980, I'm 24 years old. I had friends living in Venice Beach. My father said, go move to Los Angeles and work in Hollywood. I came out, I was 24. I had no car, no money, no connections. I had absolutely nothing. And for years and years, I knocked on doors and knocked on doors until I finally got established here. Um,
Wow.
in 1981, I was a gopher for a video company. I used to get the cars washed of the executives of this company. I used to get their cars washed. That was one of my jobs. So 1981, I'm in West Hollywood at a car wash, getting my boss's BMW washed. I didn't even have my own car. And to my right is Jerry Seinfeld. Now, I had seen Jerry the year before in New York, and he was so funny. He was remarkably funny. So I go, Jerry? He goes, yeah. I go, my name is Dan. I said, I'm your biggest fan. He said, gee, I didn't know I had any fans. That's a true story. We shook hands, and then
Wow. Uh-huh.
I said, I just moved out here. You just moved out here. We're about the same age. Can we be friends? And he looked at me weird and said, well, here's my manager's phone number. And he gave me a business card. So that was the end of that. 12 years later, Sarina, he's now famous from Seinfeld, the TV
Mm-hmm.
show. 12 years later, I saw him at a television convention. I said, Jerry, I met you at a car wash in 1981. I will note that that same day, he made his debut on The Tonight Show. It
You are
was in June.
kidding. That's Sarah,
It
that
was the
very same
same
day.
I think
Wow.
it was June 5th, 19, it was exactly, I said, why are you getting your car washed? He goes, I'm going to The Tonight Show, and if Johnny Carson sees me, I want to have a clean car. So it was unbelievable. I happened to meet Jerry the day he made his debut on The Tonight Show. So 12 years later, I see him again. I said, Jerry, I met you at a car wash, 1981. It's the night you made your debut on The Tonight Show. And he goes, I remember you. You wanted to be my friend. And
You
then
are
he turned
kidding.
it, and then he turned and he walked away. And he walked away. Why did he walk away? Well, I met him in West Hollywood. So he probably thought I was gay, or he probably thought I was hitting on him. And it's a funny story now. But so when I met him, he was very nice. 12 years later, he was not that pleasant. Let's put it that way.
And you have shared that. You have shared that in your book.
Of course. That's one of my great stories. I remember you.
Yes.
You wanted to be my friend.
So Dan, all right. So here you are, though, as you even mentioned the car wash. You don't even have your own car. You're taking, your boss's cars to get washed. When did you get your big break?
The
Or do you
first
feel
year
you?
I was
Oh, go ahead.
well,
I'm
no,
sorry.
the first year in LA, I had a series of temporary jobs. I sold clothes on Venice Beach. I got people's cars washed. I was a receptionist for a porn porn film company. I was a receptionist for a porn film company, believe it or not. I was a typist for a Korean law firm. These are all temporary jobs the first year I was here. In January 82, I answered an ad for the American Film Institute, which is a film college in Hollywood. It's a very prestigious film college. The head of the AFI at the time met me and said, Dan, you went to Boston University. I went to Boston University. I'm hiring you. She hired me on the spot and saved me. She saved me. That was the first job. Now, all I was a secretary at AFI, but she gave me a steady job and a steady income. And I had that job for a year and a half. Then there was an ad at the Playboy Channel, Sarina, of all things.
The Playboy Channel. Okay.
There was an ad for publicists for the Playboy Channel. Now, I knew about PR having worked at Columbia Pictures in New York a couple of years earlier. I answered the ad, I got hired, and now, January 84, I'm the very first publicist for the Playboy Channel. And I worked with Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion. I knew all the girls, all the centerfold girls from the 80s. And then here's the funny part, Sarina. These girls used to flirt with me and throw themselves at me, and I had just gotten married. You just got married. I couldn't do anything. These beautiful girls were flirting with me, and I couldn't do a thing. I promised I would never cheat on my wife. So it was like a diabetic boy in a candy store. That's how I felt.
Well, Dan, we're very happy, though, that you didn't cheat on your wife, of course, coming from a female perspective. It was tough. It was tough.
I came close one night. I really came very close one night.
Really? Couldn't do it. How, and we in the book, we appreciate your honesty. And, as you know, and you're going to come on I have a relationship show as well. On top of On the Record, my Love and Dating in America series. So I know we're going to hear more of your stories, but let's stick with this Playboy Channel situation now. When I say situation, I'm sure there's guys are like, oh my gosh, describe the women. Are they just as beautiful?
I had a job that any other person on the planet would envy. For a straight man, I had a remarkable job. I had an office in the Playboy building in West Hollywood on the top floor. I had the best office in the building. To the right, out my window, were all the mansions in the Hollywood Hills, the beautiful Hollywood mansions. To my left, Sarina, was the Playboy modeling agency. Every single day for 2.5 years, every day, the most beautiful girls in America came and went across the hall, from my office, across the hall. They would come into my office because I had all the T-shirts and the coffee mugs and the posters and the baseball caps. I had all the cool stuff. So they'd come in and go with their hair. They go, oh, are you Dan? I heard you have T-shirts. Can I have with the blonde hair, boobs hanging out, mini skirts. And then my wife would call every single time and say, we need milk, we need bread when you come home. Every single time there was a playmate in my office, my wife would call every time. So it was really quite remarkable. Greatest job for a straight guy you could ever have. I was the envy of all my friends. Having said that, I was only making $150 a week. There was no money.
$150 a week. All right, stay on that thought because we have so much more to talk about. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with you, Dan.
Spring's break. If it hasn't happened, it will happen. Here at Precision, I get the question of, can you fix this same day? All the time. Nobody wants to wait a few days to get their garage door fixed. The face that they make every time I say I can fix this right now is priceless. No, I'm not an actor. Would I be a good actor? Well, I could probably do it. I mean, this face is made for the camera.
Precision Door Service, a name you can trust.
Oh man, I'm gonna regret that.
Labelswap is a retail store that you can bring in the items you don't want anymore. We will buy them for either a cash offer or store credit, and you can also shop the items as well. We carry anything from H&M, Lululemon, up to your luxury items like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. There's nothing really around like it here in the market. It is a fun, personalized experience.
Welcome back to On the Record, everyone. We're joined with Dan Harary, sounds like Ferrari, joining us from Beverly Hills, author of Flirting with Fame, and we're talking about the Playboy Mansion. You used to be, for the Playboy Channel, you worked in the PR department. And Dan,
yeah, pretty much. I pretty much, for the Playboy Channel.
The Playboy
so
Channel.
Not Playboy magazine, although I did interact with the magazine, right? But when I worked there, Sarina, the Playboy Channel on cable, had just been launched. It was very new at that time. So I was the first publicist for the Playboy Channel. And what I did was, this is 83, 84, 85. I worked with the Playboy models and the producers of the Playboy TV programs to get out, like in TV Guide, there are blurbs, tonight on Friends, watch Joey, meet
Yeah,
what's
sure.
her name? The blurbs. So I did all the blurbs and all the listings for all the TV magazines in the country, and I had to send them the information and all the photos. So every month I had to work. This is like my horrible job. I had to work with the most beautiful women in the world, literally. Sometimes they were topless, and get photos with them. I thought of the photos. I produced the photos. No one censored me. I was a free man. My bosses didn't even bother me. I was autonomous for years. And again, I'm working with gorgeous girls, creating the photos that would promote the programs that were on the Playboy Channel for 2.5 years. And my wife barely spoke to me when I got home.
Oh, well, that would be kind of tough, I would think. I would imagine.
It was. It was tougher for me than for her,
Well, we appreciate your honesty. Well, did you, I know we shared the picture of you and Hugh Hefner. Did you get a chance to get to know him, and what is he like?
I met him 3 or 4 times briefly. That picture was from 1984. It's in his study in the Playboy Mansion. I was telling him, he asked me who I was and what I did. I told him about my job. Very nice. He'd pat me on the back, on the shoulder. He would walk around with a pipe and drink Diet Pepsi. That was his drink. The funny story, Sarina, about me and Hugh Hefner, the funny story is there was a TV show for the Playboy Channel called the Playmate Olympics. And for this show, there were 2 teams of playmates in Hugh Hefner's backyard. One team in red bikinis, one team in blue bikinis. And they were doing like tug of war and boxing, and they had running through tires. They had these sports activities, one team versus the other team. So I'm back there, and Hugh Hefner walks by, and he stands next to me, and we're watching these beautiful girls, boobs bouncing, hair flying, everything. And one of the girls, bikini tops flew off into the air, and her boobs are hanging out. Hugh Hefner turns to me. This is the story. Hugh Hefner turns to me, right? This girl's top just flew off, and he goes, "Never gets old." Isn't that just
never gets old? And coming from Hugh Hefner himself.
Hugh Hefner. And they patted me on the shoulder, walked away. And I said, okay, well, that's for the book. If I ever write a book in the future, I got to put that. So that's in my book, of course.
So how long did you stay there in the PR department?
I was at Playboy 2.5 years. It was the greatest job a straight man could have in the United States in every possible way, except there was no money. Otherwise, it was an unbelievable dream job. I asked for a raise. They wouldn't give me a raise. So then I left. My next job, I went to Columbia Pictures Television in Burbank, a major TV studio. And I was there for 2 years. And that's when I started interacting with Barbra Streisand and Madonna. I became friends with Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, Sally Field. That's where the real movie stars and I were interacting, because I was based on a movie studio lot.
So who would you say, when you talk about some of these big megastars, who would you say are some of the nicest?
Well, during the course of I've been a publicist 40 years. Last 26, I've had my own company. Anyway, I'd say the nicest people are like Kevin Costner.
Oh, we love Kevin Costner and his recent Yellowstone. You know, the whole crew
I
here is a
haven't-
huge fan of Yellowstone.
I haven't seen that, but I met him 2 different times. Nicest guy in the world. Anne Margaret, when I met her, I said, I've been waiting 50 years to meet you. She goes, oh, isn't that sweet? I said, please, can I get a photo? She goes, sure. So I got a picture with Anne Margaret. Tom Hanks, I met him twice. Nicest guy in the world. Kirk Douglas, I let him out for a Lifetime Achievement Award. He had just had a stroke, so I felt bad for him. It was hard for him to speak, but he was very nice to me. Sylvester Stallone, Bob Barker, Michael Landon, Jay Leno. I represented Jay Leno for 2 years when he got the Tonight Show. So
Wow.
most celebrities I've dealt with in the last 42 years, most of them have been very nice people.
That was so sad when Michael Landon died, too, at such a young age.
died.
I loved watching him on Little House on the Prairie as a child.
There's a photo of me in my book, Sarina. It's him, his wife, and me. It appeared in People magazine. It was at an American Film Institute dinner for, I believe it was for Sidney Poitier or for Kirk Douglas. So anyway, I'm in a photo with Michael, his wife, and me in People magazine, and he died 2 or 3 weeks later.
Oh my gosh. You know, you talked about some of the nicest actors and actresses that you've met. Are there some other maybe not so nice that you might be willing to share?
Sure. Well, I told you the Jerry Seinfeld story.
Mm-hmm.
He was very rude. The second time, you would think he would have said, I remember you were my first fan, which I was his first fan. He said, oh, you wanted to be my friend, and got all pissy. All right, so that's that one. When I worked at Columbia Pictures, I was doing publicity for a TV show called The New Gidget. I forget what show, The New Gidget. And we were shooting on the sound stage, and the girl who played the New Gidget said, Dan, Sally Field is shooting next door a movie. Go see if she'll take a photo with me. Now, you know, Sally Field was Gidget in the 1960s on television. Mm-hmm. So I went to the next door, like right next door, the next sound studio was Sally Field. So I went up to her. She had curlers in her hair. She had a bathrobe on, and she had surrounded by female assistants. And I said, Miss Field, my name is Dan. I'm the publicist for the New Gidget TV show. We're filming right next door, 20 feet away. Would you consider taking a photo of would you consider if we took a photo of you with the New Gidget, star of the New Gidget TV show for publicity purposes? Mm-hmm. She looked at, Sarina, she looked at me, she goes, I wouldn't do that in a million years. She goes, how dare you ask me that question?
You're kidding. She had that strong of a reaction?
Oh yeah, she was so pissed.
Wow.
She wanted me to die in a fire. She goes, of course not in a million years. So she blew me off, wanted me to die in a fire. So that's Sally Field. My best mean celebrity story is Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's the best one.
Okay, all right, we're waiting to hear it.
I had just started my own company, 1996. I got invited to an event at the Friars Club in Beverly Hills. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was there. I knew he was going to be there. My son at the time was 8 years old, and he loved the Terminator movies. So I told my son, and he goes, can you get me Arnold Schwarzenegger's autograph, Dad? It would be great. I said, okay. So I got a photo of Arnold as the Terminator, and I got a white marking pen. After the dinner at this event, I went up to Arnold. He was at the other side of the room, sitting by himself, and he had 2 huge bodyguards standing right behind him. And I said, Arnold, my name is Dan. My son, Jordan, is 8 years old. He's a huge fan of the Terminator. Would you be kind enough to give me an autograph for my son? Sarina, he looked at me and he went, arr, arr, arr.
Just like that?
Yeah. Growling, snarling, steam shooting out of his head, bright red. He wanted me to burn. He wanted me to die. I thought he was either going to kill me or eat me. It was like talking to a wild animal. So now I'm standing there with this photo and a pen, and he's growling. The bodyguards behind him are hovering over me. I should have left, but I promised my son. So I said, Arnold, please, my son is 8 years old. This will take you 5 seconds, please. Arr, snarling, growling, spit coming out of his face. He wanted me to die. I did not leave. I just didn't leave. I said, please, Arnold, come on, man. You can do it. You can do it. Finally, he took it. He signed his name. He gave it back to me. I gave it to my son. And my son still has it framed in his house in Anchorage, Alaska to this day.
Isn't that something? The things that we do for our kids. We
Exactly.
will do whatever it takes for our kids. Wow.
That was scary. That was a scary 2 minutes. It really was. I was frightened. I thought the bodyguards were going to throw me out. I really did.
Gosh, so he truly was like the Terminator.
He was like a tiger in a zoo who wanted to eat a steak. It was really scary. I was scared. I really was.
Gosh, well, you share all of these stories in your book,
sure.
Flirting with Fame.
Hundreds and hundreds. Many are funny. Many are weird. Many are awkward. I did not censor myself, Sarina. Everything I ever did, good, bad, or ugly, is in that book.
Where can we get the book, Dan?
Amazon's the way to go. Amazon.com's the way to go. Flirting with Fame. The subtitle is a Hollywood publicist recalls 50 years of celebrity close encounters. Dan Harary, rhymes with Ferrari. And there's another book series by a woman called Flirting with Fame on Amazon. Nothing to do with me.
Got it. So it's good to know that.
I think mine is better. My original title was Close Encounters of the Celebrity Kind. That's what I wanted.
But Flirting with Fame.
I love the movie, and I love Spielberg, who I met also. But someone wrote Close Encounters of the Celebrity Kind, I think in the 70s, so I couldn't use that book title.
Well, Flirting with Fame is a great title. And Dan, we so appreciate you joining us from Beverly Hills. And I can't invite you back. I'm excited to invite you back on our Dating in America series.
Oh, can't wait. That's my second book, Carrots, about all the women I've loved and lost or never loved at all. Yeah, exactly. No, I look forward to that one. I think we're doing that in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we sure are. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, if you have a story or if you would like to be on the show, please send us an email at productionredhousestreaming.com. We love your ideas. We love your topics. And then please share the show. We're on every social media platform that you can imagine. And we're also on Roku, which is pretty exciting, and many other big announcements coming soon. Once again, I'm Sarina Fazan. You've been watching On the Record. Stay safe and have a great week.